With just 5 minutes of your time every day, you can make reading history so much smoother and free of frustration. I'm proud of this approach because I've never seen anyone else talk about it. And I think it's so great for being able to approach history and not get bogged down in the details and to not have to stop and look up things. So what is this? You're dying to know, I'm sure. It's as simple as learning your countries. You learn regional geography. You learn where countries are on the map and where they are relative to each other. And that's such a tiny investment, but you'll see it makes your history reading so much smoother. And it's really great for just keeping that flow and maintaining that understanding throughout the whole history book. So you learn basic geography, enough to be able to confidently point out a country on the map. And there's only, almost 200? It's not actually that difficult to learn. That's why it takes just 5 minutes a day for a week or two. But why does that make reading history smoother and easier? Well, let's say for a moment your geography sucked. Let's say you couldn't even point out France on a map. I can't relate to that, it wasn't that bad, but my history wasn't great. If I got to the lesser known countries and the smaller ones, my knowledge evaporated. Either way, it's not good enough and it's clearly lacking. So now you pick up a history book. Maybe it's about World War II, or maybe it's about the Bronze Age. In all of these books, you're going to have moments where the author is describing a location, obviously. History involves places, and places interact with each other. And if all these places are next to each other, they interact with each other, they are related to each other somehow, then if you cannot visualize that in your head because you don't know where these countries are, you're going to struggle to picture it. Think about a World War I book. They're going to mention offensives, invasions. They're going to mention natural borders. They're going to mention alliances formed between countries. And if you don't really know where any of these countries are relative to each other, then you're not going to be able to form that mental map in your head. Because as we read, you come up with images in your head, and it helps you visualize what you're thinking about and what you're reading. But if you don't know where these countries are, you'll start guessing. And unless the author's kind enough to have given you a map to look at, then it's hard otherwise, because you don't know where these things are. If someone talks of an offensive from this country into that country, then you can't say, well, what's the implications of that? Do they have to go through another country? Is there a bordering country that is allied to either one of them? There's all these questions that pop up that depend on geography. And if you know your geography, you can easily answer those questions, and it becomes much less of a problem. If you don't know where countries are, then you have to stop and look up things all the time. You have to flick back to the map that the author gave you, or you have to, even worse, pick up your phone and start Googling things. And that's already a danger in itself, because you might just go on Instagram or something and scroll from there. And overall, it's annoying. No one wants to stop their reading and look up things every other page. It kills the flow and it makes your comprehension worse. So the idea behind this technique is that we put all of that knowledge in our head. So it's completely there, ready for us to use at will. Whatever history we read, even if it's in Africa, even if it's in America, even if it's in Europe, we know where things are, so it's easier for us to form a clear picture of what's going on. And that's so good for your comprehension. If you can relate to that idea, the pain of stopping and looking things up and just having your flow killed in history, then you might be wondering, how can I actually go and practically apply this? How can I actually go and learn countries? Because it sounds kind of boring sometimes. But there's a way I found that was not only efficient, but it was fun. Like, I actually enjoyed doing it. There was a period during the COVID summer where I sat down and went on this website for just a few minutes a day. And it didn't take long for me to basically remember all of the countries. I could actually label 90% of them, even the lesser known ones. And the best thing is, it didn't take much time investment. It was just a few minutes a day. It was there on my tab. I'll play that for a bit. So what am I talking about? It's Cetera.com, and I'll link it in the description, but it's essentially, you go on it and it's a bunch of geography games. So it gives you a map of whatever region you choose, and then there's different games that ask you to label countries. And you can do that based on the border, based on the flag, based on everything. But the basic version is you're asked to identify where a country is, and you click on it. And if you just play those, maybe take it continent by continent, just 5 minutes a day, you'll smash it. You'll learn all of them probably in a few weeks at most. And the best thing is, you don't really have to sustain that knowledge much. Years later, I'm still pretty good at it, even though I haven't practiced much. And of course, while I'm rusty, it's still there mostly. And it's still there and useful for forming that mental picture as I read history. So give it a try, go to Cetera.com, have a go at the games, and you'll see how much smoother your history reading gets, because it becomes almost effortless to understand what's going on. If you have any experiences with that, then I'd love to hear them, and of course, thank you for watching.